Look at this, a small courtyard, a clay oven, a stone trough with fish, a few goats, some chickens, a fig tree, an olive tree, a pomegranate bush, a grapevine climbing the wall, a small garden bed, a clay jar of oil, a clay jar of honey. That is what you are looking at right now, and I know what you are thinking. That looks simple, almost too simple. But that small courtyard, that exact combination of things right there, fed entire families in the Holy Land for thousands of years. Without a grocery store, without a delivery truck, without depending on a single person outside that gate. And here is the part that nobody ever talks about. That system did not come from a farmer. It did not come from a survival expert. It did not come from a book written in the last 100 years. It came from the Bible. And by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly how it worked, piece by piece, and why it still works today. There is a verse in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 8, that most people have read their whole lives and never really stopped to think about. God is speaking to the Israelites before they enter the promised land. And he says, "A land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing." Now, most people hear that and think beautiful, a promise, a blessing. But look at it again. Wheat, barley, vines, fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, honey. That is not just poetry. That is a list, a precise, specific, itemized list of every single component of a complete food system: grain, fruit, oil, sweetener, water. God was not just describing a nice place to live. He was describing a design, a blueprint, a living system that a family could build in their own courtyard and use to feed themselves completely, indefinitely, without needing anything from the outside world. And the families who lived in ancient Israel understood that. They built it, they lived it, they passed it down from parent to child for generations. This is that system, and we are going to walk through every single piece of it, starting with the one thing that makes all of it possible. Before a single seed goes in the ground, before the first animal walks through the gate, before the oven is built or the first loaf of bread is made, the first thing a family in ancient Israel did was secure their water, because without water, nothing else works. Not the garden, not the animals, not the fish, not the bread. Water is the foundation of everything. And in the Holy Land, where the summer is long, dry, and unforgiving, and the rain only comes in winter, water was not something you assumed would be there. It was something you planned for, something you stored, something you protected. So the first thing a family built was a cistern, a deep chamber cut into the rock beneath the courtyard, sealed with plaster, designed to catch every drop of winter rain from the roof and hold it through the dry months. But here is what most people never consider. That same water did not just sit there waiting to be used. It worked while it waited. Families would run a small channel from the cistern into the garden. A slow, steady trickle that kept the soil moist without flooding it. That same channel could feed a stone trough for the animals. And that same overflow from the trough could water the base of the fruit trees. One cistern, one source, feeding the garden, the animals, the fish, and the trees, all at the same time, all from the same water that fell from the sky for free. That cistern was their independence, their security, their insurance against drought. And from that water, everything else grew. Now, here is something that surprises most people. Families in ancient Israel kept fish, not just near the Sea of Galilee, everywhere, in stone troughs in their courtyards, fed by rainwater, maintained as a living protein reserve that was always there whenever the family needed it. And the reason this worked so beautifully is simple. A small trough, once it has water and sunlight, develops its own food chain almost on its own. Algae grows, insects fall in, small organisms multiply, and the fish eat all of it without you feeding them a single thing. You stock the trough once, you walk away, And weeks later, you have fish. Months later, you have more fish. Years later, the fish are still there, still reproducing, still feeding themselves from the water around them. No feed to buy, no schedule to keep, no trips to the market. But here is the part that most people miss entirely. The water in that fish trough after the fish had been living in it was not dirty water. It was rich water, loaded with nutrients from the fish waste. And that water, when it overflowed or was scooped out and poured onto the garden, was one of the most powerful natural fertilizers that existed. The fish fed the family, and the fish water fed the garden, and the garden fed the family again. One trough, 2 jobs, 0 waste. Right next to the fish trough, most families kept chickens. And chickens, in a biblical courtyard, were not just a source of eggs. They were a complete system inside a system. Every morning, without fail, eggs, protein, nutrition, something to eat before the day even started. But that was just the beginning. Chickens ate insects. They scratched through the soil and pulled out grubs, beetles, and larvae that would otherwise destroy the garden. They ate kitchen scraps, vegetable peels, stale bread, leftover grain, things that would otherwise rot. They ate weeds. They ate things nobody else wanted. And everything they ate, they turned into 2 things: eggs and fertilizer. Their droppings, mixed into the soil, fed the garden better than almost anything else available. Rich in nitrogen, rich in phosphorus, the exact nutrients that vegetables and grain need to grow strong. So the chickens were not just producing eggs, they were cleaning the courtyard, controlling pests, recycling waste, and feeding the soil, all at the same time, all for free. And when a hen stopped laying, she became a meal. A rich, slow-cooked broth that fed the family for 2 days. Nothing wasted, not a single part. Every family in ancient Israel kept a kitchen garden, a small, carefully tended plot right there in the courtyard or just outside the gate. And what they grew was not random, it was intentional, strategic, chosen for maximum return with minimum effort. Lentils and beans for protein, onions and garlic for flavor and for medicine, leeks and cucumbers for freshness, herbs like mint, dill, coriander, and hyssop for seasoning, and again for healing. But here is what made the garden truly remarkable. It was not just a food source, it was a pharmacy. Garlic was used for infections. Hyssop was used to clean wounds, the same hyssop mentioned in Psalm 51. Mint was used for stomach pain and digestion. Coriander was used for headaches and fever. Dill was used for colic in children. Every plant in that garden had at least 2 jobs: feed the family, heal the family. And the garden did not just feed the people, it fed the animals. The scraps, the leaves, the things that did not make it to the table, all of it went to the goats, the chickens, the fish. Nothing was wasted, everything cycled back. A family with a well-kept garden did not need a doctor for every small illness. They did not need a market for every meal. They walked outside, picked what they needed, and used it. That was not primitive. That was intelligent. Now, if there was one animal that held the entire system together, it was the goat. Not the cow, not the sheep, the goat. And the reason is simple. A goat is small enough to keep in a courtyard. It eats almost anything: scraps, weeds, dry brush, thorny plants, things no other animal will touch. It does not need much space. It does not need expensive feed. And in return for almost nothing, it gives back something extraordinary: milk. Every single day. And from that milk, a family could make not one thing, but many things. Fresh milk to drink, soft white cheese that kept for days without refrigeration, thick yogurt that lasted even longer, butter churned by hand in a clay jar, labneh, a strained yogurt so thick it could be rolled into balls, coated in herbs and olive oil, and stored for weeks. One goat, fed on scraps and weeds, producing enough dairy to supplement every meal, add protein to every dish, and feed children who needed more than bread and lentils. And the goat's wool? Spun into thread. woven into cloth, clothing for the family, blankets for the winter, bags for carrying grain, and the goat's skin, cured and stretched into a water skin, a container that held water, wine or oil, flexible, durable, and free. And when the goat eventually stopped producing milk, it became meat, a rich, slow-cooked stew that fed the whole family. One last gift before the cycle started again, with a new kid, one animal. More gifts than most people ever count. Right alongside the goats, many families also kept a small flock of sheep. And sheep, like goats, gave far more than most people realize. Their milk was richer and fattier than goat's milk, perfect for making a denser, more flavorful cheese. Their wool was the primary material for clothing in the ancient world, sheared once a year, cleaned, spun, and woven into everything a family wore and slept under. But the sheep also had a role that went beyond the practical. In the biblical world, a lamb was the animal of celebration, of gratitude, of worship. When a family had something to give thanks for, a birth, a harvest, a guest of honor, they slaughtered a lamb. And that lamb fed not just the immediate family, but the extended family, the neighbors, the community. A single animal became a shared meal. A shared meal became a shared memory. The sheep connected the family to their faith, to their community, and to each other. It was never just food. It was always something more. There is a reason the olive tree appears more than almost any other plant in the Bible. It is not just symbolic. It is practical. An olive tree, once it is established, produces fruit for hundreds of years. Some of the olive trees still standing in the Garden of Gethsemane today are believed to be over 1,000 years old, still producing, still giving. And what the olive gave a family was not just food, it was oil. And oil in the ancient world was everything. It was the fat they cooked with, the dressing they poured over bread, the preservative that kept food from spoiling, the fuel for their lamps at night, the medicine they rubbed on wounds, dry skin, and aching joints, the base for perfumes and ointments, the offering they brought to the temple, one tree, planted once, giving back for generations. But the olives themselves, before they were pressed into oil, were also eaten. Cured in salt water or brine, they kept for months. A handful of olives with bread and cheese was a complete meal, simple, filling, nutritious, and the leftover pulp after pressing, the solid waste that remained after the oil was extracted, was not thrown away. It was used as fuel for the oven. Burned slowly, it produced a steady, long-lasting heat, perfect for baking bread. The olive tree fed the family, lit their home, healed their bodies, and fueled their oven, all from one tree that asked for almost nothing in return. Right beside the olive tree, most families kept a fig tree, and the fig tree was special for one reason above all others. It produced fruit twice a year, early figs in spring, late figs in late summer, 2 harvests from one tree, every single year, without fail. Fresh figs were eaten as they came, sweet, soft, rich in natural sugar and fiber. But the ones that were not eaten fresh were dried in the sun and pressed into dense cakes, calorie-rich, long-lasting, ready to eat months later without any preparation. Those fig cakes were emergency food, travel food. The thing you reached for when the stew was not ready, when the bread had run out, when someone needed energy fast. David's soldiers carried them on long marches. Abigail brought them as a gift to keep an army fed. They show up again and again throughout the Bible, not as a luxury, but as a staple. But the fig tree gave more than fruit. The leaves of the fig tree were large, broad, and strong, used to wrap food for cooking, to cover clay pots, to provide shade in the courtyard during the hottest part of the day. The shade of a fig tree was so valued in the ancient world that sitting under your own fig tree was a symbol of peace, safety, and prosperity. And the milky sap from an unripe fig, used as a natural remedy for skin conditions, applied directly to wounds and infections. One tree, 2 harvests, food, shade, medicine, and peace. Now here is one that most people overlook entirely. Almost every family in ancient Israel grew grapes. Not in a vineyard necessarily, just a single vine, trained to climb along a wall or over a wooden frame in the courtyard. And that one vine produced more than most people expect. Fresh grapes in season, sweet, hydrating, eaten by the handful. Raisins dried in the sun, concentrated sweetness that stored for months and traveled easily. Grape juice pressed and fermented into wine, the drink of every meal, every celebration, every Sabbath table. But here is what most people never think about. Wine that was left to sour, intentionally or not, became vinegar. And vinegar, in the ancient world, was one of the most useful substances a family could have. It preserved food, it cleaned wounds, it was mixed with water as a refreshing drink on hot days, the same drink offered to Jesus on the cross. And the vine itself, trained over the courtyard, created a canopy of shade during the summer months. A natural roof of leaves that kept the courtyard cool, protected the garden from the harshest midday sun, and dropped its leaves in winter to let the warmth back in. One vine, grapes, raisins, wine, vinegar, shade, medicine, all from something that grew on a wall. The pomegranate does not get nearly enough attention. It appears throughout the Bible, carved into the pillars of Solomon's temple, embroidered onto the robes of the high priest, mentioned in the Song of Solomon as a symbol of beauty and abundance. But in the daily life of a family in ancient Israel, the pomegranate was something far more practical. It was medicine. The juice of the pomegranate was used for fever. The rind, the thick outer skin, was boiled into a tea used for stomach infections and intestinal problems. The seeds were eaten for their cooling, anti-inflammatory properties. The flowers were used to stop bleeding, and the fruit itself stored remarkably well. A pomegranate picked at the right time could last for months in a cool, dry place, providing sweetness, nutrition, and medicine long after the summer harvest was over. A family with a pomegranate tree in their courtyard had a natural medicine cabinet that refilled itself every year. Now, most people think of honey as a luxury, something sweet, something extra. But in the ancient world, honey was essential, and families who kept bees or who knew where wild bees nested nearby had access to something that most people today take completely for granted. Honey never spoils, ever. Archaeologists have found honey in Egyptian tombs that is over 3,000 years old, still perfectly edible. A clay jar of honey sealed with a cloth was food that would outlast everything else in the house. It was the sweetener for every dish that needed sweetness. It was the medicine for every wound that needed healing, applied directly to cuts and burns. It prevented infection and promoted healing in a way that nothing else available at the time could match. It was mixed with water to make a drink, mixed with herbs to make medicine, mixed with grain to make sweet cakes for celebrations. And the beeswax, the material the bees built their combs from, was used to waterproof cloth, seal clay jars, preserve leather, and make candles. One hive. Honey that never spoiled. Medicine that healed wounds. Light for the night, waterproofing for everything that needed to last. And then there was grain, wheat and barley. The two crops that appear more than any other in the entire Bible. The foundation of the ancient diet. The thing that more than anything else determined whether a family would eat or go hungry. Barley was the grain of the common people. It grew faster than wheat, survived in poorer soil, and produced a harvest even in difficult years. It was ground into flour for bread, cooked whole in stews, and fermented into a mild beer that was safer to drink than untreated water. Wheat was finer, richer, more prized. Wheat flour made a softer, more flavorful bread. It was the grain used for special occasions, for guests, for the Sabbath loaf. And every morning, the women of the household would grind grain on a stone mill, a slow, rhythmic process that took time but produced fresh flour every single day. That flour was mixed with water, shaped into flat rounds, and baked on the clay oven in the courtyard, warm, fresh, ready before the sun was fully up. But grain was not just bread. Cracked and boiled, it became porridge, thick, filling, easy to digest, perfect for children and the elderly. Roasted whole over the fire, it became a quick snack that needed no preparation. Mixed with lentils and herbs, it became a dense, protein-rich cake that could be carried on a journey and eaten cold. And the straw left over after the grain was harvested, fed to the animals, used as bedding, mixed with clay to make bricks. Nothing wasted, not a single stalk. Now let me be direct with you for a moment, because I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds beautiful, but what about when things went wrong? What about drought? The cistern, stored water from the winter rains, enough to carry the family through months of dry heat. And the deep roots of the olive tree and the fig tree, reaching down into the rock for moisture that surface plants could never find. What about illness? The garden, garlic for infection, hyssop for wounds, mint for the stomach, pomegranate rind for fever, honey applied directly to burns and cuts. A family with a well-kept garden rarely needed to go far for medicine. What about hunger in winter when nothing was growing? The storage, dried figs, raisins, lentils, dried beans, honey, olive oil, salted fish, aged cheese. A family that harvested and stored properly in the fall had food through the coldest months without planting a single new seed. What about unexpected guests? The animals. A chicken could be prepared quickly, a fish pulled from the trough, cheese already made and waiting, bread baked fresh in under an hour. A family with this system could feed a guest on short notice without panic, without a trip to the market, without spending money they did not have. What about clothing? The goats and sheep, wool spun and woven into everything the family wore. Goat leather cured into sandals, bags, and water skins. A family that kept animals did not just eat, they dressed themselves from the same courtyard. What about light at night? The olive oil, poured into a small clay lamp with a wick of twisted flax, it burned steadily and cleanly for hours. The same oil that cooked the food and dressed the bread also lit the home after dark. Every problem, every need, every season. The system had an answer. Listen, I know what you're thinking. That was then. Different world, but the principles never changed. Not one. Water feeds plants. Plants feed animals. Animals feed the soil. Bees make honey that lasts thousands of years. Olive trees live for a millennium. Goats give milk, wool, and leather for almost nothing in return. Nature didn't get the memo. We changed. Not the system. We traded the courtyard for the grocery store, the cistern for a water bill, the fig tree for fruit that traveled 3,000 miles to reach us. And it works until it doesn't. The families in the Holy Land who built this weren't experts. They didn't know anything you can't learn. They didn't have anything you can't get. They just had a system, a courtyard, animals, trees, water.
And with
only that, they never lacked a thing. That's exactly what you can build today. You don't need land. You don't need experience. You don't need much space. You just need to understand how the system works. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you. That small courtyard you saw at the beginning of this video, the clay oven, the fish trough, the goats, the chickens, the fig tree, the olive tree, the grapevine on the wall, the pomegranate in the corner, the bees in their clay hive, that was not poverty. That was wisdom. Wisdom that fed families for thousands of years. Wisdom that healed them when they were sick. Wisdom that clothed them when it was cold. Wisdom that lit their homes when it was dark. Wisdom that is still available to anyone willing to build it. If this video made you think differently about where your food comes from, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep exploring the world of biblical living, subscribe to Biblical Footsteps. We are just getting started.